Good evening. Welcome back. 18 of 30. 18 of 30. We are moving along. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good evening. To be liberated is to be self-led. We're going to dive into what that means this evening. Today on my page, on my personal page on Facebook, I made a post where I was really just kind of recalling and reflecting on my journey. You know, a lot of people think people that are successful or have achieved a certain level, it just happened for them overnight. And I was just recalling my journey the past 25 years, a little over 25 years, you know, back even when I was in college and all of the things. And none of it was overnight. You know, I talked in this post about how whether I was an undergrad, when I was doing my undergrad studies and my MBA, I was working full time, right? I was working full time, which meant I didn't have a fancy social life, which meant I didn't really have time for my own, for anything outside of work and school. That was it. I was very focused on that. I remember just telling my niece not too long ago that she just got into college, and I was asking her, so have you seen flyers or whatever it is for parties or events around the school? And so she was like, yeah, I see. And I asked her that because I think I was maybe 2 months, a little over a month, 2 months into graduating college when I saw an event poster or something. And I remember asking one of my friends, I'm like, what is this? And she says, wait, you don't know what that organization is? Don't you belong to that organization? It's like the African diaspora, blah, blah. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've been on this campus for years and I haven't seen anything. And that is because I used to work from 7:30 to 3:45 p.m. and then would come onto campus 4:30. It was like a 45-minute drive. Come onto campus 4:30 to get my, start my classes, 4:30 to 9 or whatever the case may be. I am not in the mood, nor do I have the energy to be searching for flyers, for posters, or even going to anybody's parties. And so that was really the way I navigated my undergrad life, right? My MBA, I was already working full time. I had responsibilities at this job. I was leading a team and all of that. And so I'd go to work, full-time work in the morning, and in the evening, I'd go to school. And I got my MBA that way. When I decided to go for my certification, my life coaching certification, my training certification, it was the same thing. I was at work full time and I was doing this program for a year. You know, it was just, I was in it day in, day night. I was just day in and out. I was just in it. And I remember even my commute from New Jersey to New York. On that commute, it was never wasted. Like that time was never wasted. Were there times where I just had to fall asleep and just, catch up on some snooze? Absolutely. But most of the time on that commute, I was catching up. I was reading. I was sharpening my skills. I was creating posters on Canva for my own business. Once I started, running my own business, I remember I was nurturing a group, Fearless Professional Women, which was a little over 250, I want to say 240 something people, women around the world. And I was nurturing that group, for free. And I remember I would step out of my house. There was this creek beside my house. And I would just step out there in the morning and do like a little training. Drop a little wisdom nugget, something before I head to the train station or bus station to catch my bus to head to work. And so a lot of people see, I've heard people say to me, oh my God, you have your MBA. Oh, you're so lucky. It's not like somebody handed it to me. Oh, you're running your own business. Oh my God, you're so lucky. It's not like I woke up and somebody said, hey, Bessie, come over. I want to give you something. Here's a business I want to give you, and here are the clients, and here are the things, and da da da. Here, no one is handing anything to me. But tonight, I want to talk to you about one of the principles that I live by, that I have engaged in my life before I even knew the term for it, right? And that's self-leadership. And it's one of the core pillars of the liberated woman. Like I said, I'm always like writing my notes so I don't miss anything out. And so self-leadership, even before I knew those words, self-leadership, I had been leading myself. In college, doing what I did, making sure I didn't pull myself out of the game, making sure, there were no eyes on me to say, hey, what are you doing? My parents weren't here. Put myself through school. No one was around to say, hey, what are you studying? Did you pass? Did you not pass? But I was able to do that for myself. Self-leadership. So, and it's why it has become one of the core pillars of the liberated woman. So in my liberated code, the liberated experience, self-leadership is a core pillar. What does it mean to be self-led? Self-leadership is all about understanding who you are, influencing your own thoughts, your own emotions, navigating through your own feelings and your own behaviors in service to a goal or aspiration that you have. Self-leadership. The flip side of that, which I also know very well because I am a culture straddler. It's what I've said to you. I come from a culture where a path is carved out for you. It's made out for you and you are expected to follow it. And so I see how people kind of lead, whether they're leading by pointing and saying, that's the path, or, hey, I'm on this path. You must follow me. This is what we do in this family. This is what we do from this side of town. This is what we do on this side of the tracks. You follow this, right? So I've seen that. However, I had this other piece of me that was, I needed to do something different. And that was that self-leadership piece. And so self-leadership, when I think about it, and I wrote here, there are few components of self-leadership. And I'll just talk to you today about what it is and why it is imperative that you cultivate self-leadership if you are wanting to be liberated, if you're wanting to create change in your life, if you're wanting, or if you are called to carve your own path. Self-leadership, one of the biggest components of this is self-awareness. Like you cannot self-lead. You cannot lead yourself without awareness. Awareness, again, of who you are, what you are, your strengths, your weaknesses. A lot of times, people are happy and they are elated and everything's going okay. How you doing? I'm great. Because the circumstances are good. Quote unquote, they're good. Their friendships are going well. Their relationship is great. All things. They're getting paid. But the moment something goes off, one of those circumstances, there's a miss. They have a fight with their friend, or their relationship, they have an argument with the relationship, or their business, they don't get the sale. All of a sudden, they can't hold it anymore. They don't know who they are. They just spiral. Self-awareness is really understanding who you are in the highs and the lows, your emotions, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you engage with truth? I talk about this a lot. How do you engage with truth? Are you able to be with truth, or are you only able to be with truth when it feels good? Right? Self-awareness is also noticing what motivates you. What motivates you? And that's also a key point here. Another component of self-leadership is self-motivation. Self-leadership for me is finding that internal drive to move towards what it is that you want, that you require, that you insist for your own life. It is setting those personal goals and going after them, not just setting them, because we all know how to set goals. Like we do that all day long, right? You set the miniature goals, which are those daily things that you want to do. And then you set I'm sure you're already doing it, thinking about, oh, next year's a thing. I've had conversations with people where they're saying, I don't think, not this year, next year. So you know how to set goals, but do you have the internal drive to walk you through to getting those goals achieved? Self-motivation, not waiting for something outside of you to spark you, to ignite you, right? And those are the things, which is why I said to you earlier on that I was already self-leading before I knew the word self-leadership. I did that way back in college. No one had to crack the whip to tell me, you gotta, go to school, do this, put this schedule together in this way so that you can work here. Nobody had to tell me that. No one had to tell me when to study or when not to study and all this stuff. Self-leadership. Self-leadership. Self-leadership, self-motivation. It was the same thing when I got to corporate, and I spent some years in corporate. I spent 22 years in corporate, for those of you that know me, and I walked away from corporate in 2018. But before I did, while I was in corporate, I essentially went back to school, really, to go get trained, to get my life coaching certification and my training, right? And I can tell you it wasn't easy, because this is not just, it's not head work. It's not, oh, okay, now I know what color this is. And now, it's not head work. It's energetic work. It's emotional work, right? So it takes a lot. It takes a lot. Yet I found that internal drive to follow through for a whole year and then sign up for my training certification to become a trainer. Self-motivation. And as I'm giving you these components, I would invite you to begin just kind of noticing for yourself the areas of your life you want to shift. How's your self-leadership? How's your self-leadership meter? How's your self-motivation? How's your self-awareness? We started with self-awareness, right? How's your self-awareness? Do you know what kicks you out of your power? Do you know what kicks you out of when you're on track? Do you know that threshold? Self-awareness, right? Self-motivation. Do you have, if you were to gauge your internal drive, what is that? What is your internal drive? Or do you only have that drive to move forward and do the things that you want when someone is beside you, when somebody else is doing something, when someone is cracking the whip? All of this is super important. Some people need, and this is another piece, accountability. Who are you? Accountability, when I say accountability, is really owning your successes and your failures. And that's what I put here, just owning your successes and failures. However, accountability, I've heard and seen over the years, I've had people even reach out to me, hey, I'd love to be accountability buddies with you. What does that mean? I call you or I tell you what I'm doing, and, then I check in. It will just hold me accountable and whatnot. For me, self-leadership, you're self-accountable. You're self-accountable. However, it is important, again, going back to number one, the component of self-awareness. Who are you? Are you the type of person that does need that outside accountability? And get this, you might need the outside accountability because you have yet to cultivate the muscle, to strengthen the muscle of your own self-accountability. I think there was a time in my life where outside accountability worked for me. It was fine. Yes, maybe I needed, I would operate more, better, on a higher level when I had some type of external accountability, right? But that didn't take long for me, because remember, for as long as I can remember, I've been self-driven. I've been self-motivated, right? So I've been operating in my own self-accountability. But maybe for you, you've kind of been leaning on other people to hold you accountable. And it's because you haven't yet trusted yourself to build your own self-accountability. For me, this is part of self-leadership, because that accountability is really owning your successes and your failures, your successes and your losses, your successes and your mistakes. Because it's so easy, and I see this a lot, where when you're succeeding, it's like, yeah, I did a great job, da da da. And when it doesn't go your way, it seems, oh, well, I think there was something wrong. The economy was off. The market was doing this. It was that season for this. It was that. You're not able to be truthful. There goes that word again, with yourself, and to own all of it. Because here's what I found on my journey. The more you can step into 100% responsibility, personal responsibility, is great news. You can shift anything. You can shift anything for yourself. But if you're hinging your failures, your losses, your mistakes, your mishaps on somebody else, then you're waiting for somebody else to fix that. Then you take the victim seat. Do you get what I'm saying? So we've covered self-awareness, self-motivation, accountability. Now here's the fourth piece of self-leadership. And this is big. This is big. And I would say that I deepened this for myself much later in life. And it's the self-regulation, really managing your emotions and your behaviors. Regulating that, knowing when to act and when to pause. I remember at some point, there was a point in my life where when I was married, for instance, when we had arguments, there was no pause. I wanted to prove my point. I wanted to be right. I wanted you to hear me. I did not yet have that wisdom to just chill, regulate yourself. You are okay. You are not on the battlefield, because that's what's happening in our body. Our body's kind of like, we got to fight. We got to protect ourselves. They can't run over me. They can't say that to me. They can't get away with that. And we try to prove our point, deny the thing, protect ourselves. And that's where self-regulation comes in. I had to learn how to regulate my emotions, my feelings, my behaviors, and really get very present with myself so that I know when to act and when to pause. And there's so much power in pause, because when you're self-regulated, when you're not just, you can see clearly, you can think clearly. And then when you respond, then it's actually a response, not a reaction. And that's the difference. Most of the time, when you react, it's because you're not regulated. You're not regulated. Your nervous system is not calm. But when you are calm and you are regulated, your emotions are not, someone says something to you and everything gets hot and you feel like the whole world is looking at you. You already feel ashamed. You want to go just hide and enter the floor. I mean, it's talking to yourself. It's getting back to the truth of who you are. I'm okay. I'm okay. They said what they said. I'm okay. Breathe. Breathe. Pause. And only then can you give a meaningful response. Right? So that's that piece. Now, the fifth piece to the self-leadership piece, which I talked about today in my post on my page, is this piece of continuous learning. In order for me to continue to up-level my self-leadership, I continually learn. I'm not only learning when I'm in school. Every day I'm learning. I'm reading books. I'm listening to things. I'm consistently plugged into a community of incredible leaders like myself who are on a similar journey or who have kind of been to the places where I'm trying to go. We are engaging in powerful conversations, life-changing conversations, heart conversations, deep connections, right? This helps me to widen my net, deepen what I know, just garner new wisdom, because it's not really all about what I know. Because the more I have these conversations, the more I learn, the easier it is for me to regulate myself, because I can tell very quickly what's true, what's a lie. I'm more aware of myself, right? Like, again, the me being self-motivated, you don't have to crack the whip for me to be motivated. And this is why I continuously learn. So those are the 5 core elements for me when it comes to self-leadership, which is a core pillar for the liberated woman. For you to be liberated, you got to be self-led, because when we think about it, for you to be liberated, if you are not self-led, that means the flip side is that you are waiting for somebody to lead you. You are waiting for somebody to lead you. You're waiting for somebody to tell you where to go. That means you're following. You might be following a leader, but that means you're following. Like, self-leadership means you lead yourself first and foremost before you can even lead other people. That's self-leadership. Now I want to just talk a little bit about why self-leadership is really crucial and important in this journey of being the liberated woman, in being on this journey of you doing the things that you desire, having that emotional freedom, financial freedom, breaking free from the cultural, the societal expectations, you actually going after what it is that you want for yourself, you making decisions that align with you, being unafraid to be who you are in this world. This is why self-leadership is important. Number 1 is empowerment. You get to, when you're self-led, you get to take control of your own life. If I'm self-led, if I'm leading, like I was saying, back in college, I was leading. I didn't have to wait for anyone to say, why don't you go study, I don't know, radiology? Why don't you go study this? Go study that. That is the culture I do come from, but not my family, right? I didn't wait for that. I'm cut different. I didn't wait for that. I led myself. When you're leading yourself, you're in front of the line. You're carving your own path. And it feels so much more empowering because you get to just sit. I wake up some days and it's like, what do we want to create today? What do I want to create today? What do I want to do today? How do I want to feel today? And I go make it happen. I'm not waiting. So you feel empowered as opposed to victimized, kind of waiting for situations to align before you can feel empowered. So that's one. Number 2 is another reason for you why you want to cultivate the art of self-leadership is resilience. Listen, resilience. Life, there's ups and downs in life. I mean, there are days where you wake up on a high, great mood, and by noon, somebody said something has happened, and you're just off kilter. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the chat. Do you know what I'm talking about? Self-leadership, you helps you build resilience. You get to know and learn the art of bouncing back. You get to learn the art of not losing yourself in the lows, right? You get to learn the art of being strong, whether you're high or whether you're low, being, not losing who you are, not losing your power because circumstances are changing. Do you get what I'm saying? Thank you, Akila. I hope I pronounced that right. Let me know. Do you know what I'm saying? Building resilience. A lot of people, I see a lot of people not go for what they want, not because they're not capable, but because they start going and they hit a bump in the road. And because they have not yet cultivated their muscle of resiliency, they retreat. They can't handle the bump. They don't know how to go over the bump. They don't know how to hold themselves through the bump and just pass through. So they retreat. They make a detour. They change. Then they act like, no, it's not kind of what I wanted. That's not what it. No, I was kind of just trying that out. I wasn't trying to do that. And they go into hiding. They go into isolation. Ask me how I know. Your self-leadership will help you build resilience because life has ups and downs. I did a live, I don't know what day it was, but I talked about if you are thinking that your road, your path to your next level is going to be paved with just smooth sailing, roses and petals and unicorns and rainbows, and you got some. You are setting yourself up for a heartbreak because life comes with challenges, and those challenges come to strengthen you. In fact, I had a conversation, very brief conversation with a gentleman today at the Starbucks where I was, and he was talking about how he is wanting to expand his business. He wants to do more and all this stuff, but he's kind of, just this is trepidation. And he says, well, I'm just, there's just some challenges. So I'm just I want to make sure I move when it's smooth. Yeah, okay, sir. So where do you think there isn't a challenge? Where do you think there isn't a challenge? Because if you think there isn't a challenge anywhere, you are just not being with truth. There goes that word again. Because you and I both know life is not just smooth sailing. Life comes with bumps. It comes with challenges. It comes with setbacks. But the setbacks, the challenges are not here to take you out. They're not here to take you down. They're here to strengthen you. And you have to learn to be with those challenges, to rise above the challenges, to transcend them, to go through them and bounce back stronger. So self-leadership will help you build resilience. The other thing self-leadership will help you do is lead an authentic life that is aligned with your own personal values. If I'm leading, I get to choose what aligns with me. And that's one of the biggest pieces that I see with culture straddlers, because there is a path that is already paved for us that we are supposed to walk. And some people, some of us have walked those paths. Some of us are on that path and it does not feel good. It literally feels like you're betraying yourself, but you don't have language for it. It's because it's not aligned with your own values. But when you begin to cultivate the art of self-leadership, you're able to pick and choose the paths, tasks, people, things, situations that align with your own personal value, which means you begin to lead a more authentic life. If there's one thing that I've heard people say to me, outside of, I just want to stop being afraid to do what I want to do, it's, I just want to be me. I just want to be me. I want to be me. That's it. You begin to lead an authentic life. The other two is achievement and influence. So when you're self-led, I mentioned before, it's not just about setting your goals. You're not just setting your goals. When you're self-led, you set and you go for your goals. You achieve them. You stop at nothing, because the self-led woman stops at nothing. The bumps in the road don't deter her. The liberated woman, she knows there are challenges. She knows there's going to be bumps in the road. She knows there's going to be people that are not going to agree with her. She knows that people are not going to buy into her vision. She knows that people are going to say, who do you think you are? The audacity of you trying to carve a path. And she says, I know, and carve the path I shall. She goes after her goals. Nothing stops her. That's the art of self-leadership. The art of self-leadership allows you to do that. And the last piece is influence. There's something that happens when you're self-led. There's something that happens when you become the liberated woman. When you begin to walk this liberated walk. When you lead yourself authentically on your own chosen path. It radiates outwards. It radiates outwards. You begin to magnetize people, things, opportunities, situations, nudges to you. It literally is it's something that I experience this all the time. It just emits. People see and say, oh my God, I love that. Oh my God. What? I am so curious. What do you do? I want to know you. Or I want to be in your energy. I want to be at the table with you. What is it? You begin to have influence. You begin to have influence because that self-leadership, that quality, that liberated quality of this, it radiates from the inside out. You begin to inspire and influence other people through your positive actions. That is another reason why cultivating your self-leadership is important on this journey. Where do you need to cultivate more self-leadership? In what area of your life? Where do you need to up your self-awareness, your self-motivation? Yeah? Your self-regulation. Do you even know? Your self-accountability. Where do you need to up level in those areas, those pieces? Because all of those pieces make up your self-leadership. Self-leadership is the foundation upon which the liberated woman is built, which all the other leadership skills are then built upon. It begins with leading yourself first. I can't lead anybody else if I'm not leading myself first. You wouldn't want to listen to me if you realize I'm not leading myself. You're going to say, what? I don't understand. And this is why children, they do what we do, not what we tell them to do. They learn more by us modeling. We're leading. And they watch us. Right? When you master your self-leadership, you become empowered, you become resilient, and you become authentic in your daily life. When you master self-leadership, you become empowered in your life. You become resilient and more authentic in your daily life. And here's what I'm going to leave you with. This journey of becoming the liberated woman, being the liberated woman, right, is not a destination. It is a continuous journey of self-discovery and growth. It's not a destination. So if you're thinking, oh, I learned this last month, check. That's not how it works. This is why I am continuously learning every day. And so I hope this brought value to you tonight. I'd love to know what resonated for you. Drop it in the chat, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good evening.